Do you feel like you're not good enough? Like sometimes you just don't measure up? Well, you're in luck because today's episode, we're going to be talking about how to be good enough. This is the Existential Stoic podcast. I'm Randy. That's Danny. What's going on, Danny?
What's up, Randy?
Hey, Danny, have you ever felt not good enough?
Yeah, man, all the time, I think. Feel like not a good person, I'm an imposter. I think everybody experiences that, right? And I think that's that's the essence of that
Uh,
feeling not good enough.
Just before we are recording this, I was doing my laundry and I was thinking to myself, I'm like, feelings suck.
Yeah, yeah, it'd be much easier without them, you know?
Yeah,
Like
but
we'd
I mean,
be,
they must be here for a reason.
I guess, I don't know. Maybe there
So,
was a reason, I don't know, and there's not
uh,
anymore. Who knows?
yeah. So today we're going to give a few quick tips for how to be good enough. I'll go first. My first one is set low standards. Like ask yourself, what's the minimum required to be good enough? Because I was going to say everybody, but let me just speak for myself. I set such a high bar. I'm like, in order to be good enough, I need to be making this much money, have this good looking partner, have everything in my life figured out, no more problems ever again, be this certain weight, and this, and this, and this, and this. And like, I can't achieve it all. You know,
Yeah.
maybe in time I'll have achieved it all, but like simultaneously to achieve all that is just ridiculous. So maybe setting low standards, like what's good enough? How about I woke up today? You know, I'm not
Mhm.
dead. That's pretty good. You know, let's start
Yeah.
there.
I really like that one too, because I think that is like the biggest problem like we all face is like we and for no reason we set standards way higher for ourselves than anybody else. Even like than you would expect like somebody like your friend to meet. You set them so high. I remember in like even school, like writing papers, like being like, why isn't this like better than the articles I read from these people that have been doing this for 60 years, or whatever. Like you just expect to be the best immediately, and it's like a ridiculous bar to set. I also would add too, I think like more realistic standards even, like is what that is. It's not lowering them. I think it's just being realistic about like what qualifies as either success or good in this moment.
Mm,
Yeah, it's a
definitely.
good one. I like that one.
Yeah.
My first one is keep working at it. And I think this actually goes nicely with yours because I think, I was thinking, you know, all the Stoics, all the existentialists, all the philosophers I really like that, especially that talk about ethics and stuff. The good person is an ideal. Like it is something that you strive towards and keep striving towards. And as long as you're working at it, you're doing good. Like we're people. Everybody's gonna make mistakes. Everybody's gonna mess up. But as long as you keep working towards that goal of being good, you are good. Like that, I think, is part of it. And I think it's important to keep that in mind that we're talking about ideals or we're talking about metrics that maybe you can't reach, but the point is just to keep doing it and to keep trying to, outdistance yourself, I guess.
Yeah, that one's a really good one because, like oftentimes we feel like we're not good enough when we just haven't put in enough iterations of it. We haven't put in enough work. Like I remember when I was a veterinarian, I was terrible at it at the beginning. I had no idea what I was doing, but I just kept going back day after day. And then I mean, I don't know exactly when it happened because it was different things for different areas of it, but eventually I was good. And like, but I once I was good, I stopped asking myself, am I good enough?
Yeah, it's funny. I had that same experience teaching. Like I was terrible at the beginning. When I first started, it was hard. It was, but then there was like I don't even remember which point it was, but I remember a point where like I was like, this is kind of easy. It was
Hmm.
weird. Like, and I don't remember it happening. It just happened at some point where yeah, the stress goes away. Yeah, you're good at it because you've done it enough.
Bingo. So my second one for how to be good enough is treat yourself like you would a friend. You kind of touched on this earlier, saying how like we beat ourselves up. We make things so difficult on ourselves. Like the mental talk that we have, we would never say this stuff to friends, but we say it to ourselves. And most of the time, it's like if your friend was doing what you were doing, you would probably encourage them and be like, you know what? I'm really proud of you. I'm inspired by you. I think what you're doing is great. And like, I know you're going through some stuff right now, but just stick with it. You're going to get there. And like, when
Yeah,
was the last time you ever said that to yourself?
yeah, right. Oh my God, I'm glad you mentioned that one too, because like I know we've talked about that before in the past, and that one, like I've actually been trying to use that more and more when I don't like when I feel down or when I'm like, berating myself because it's like the truth. You would never talk to somebody else this way. What gives you the right, or why even what justifies talking to yourself this way, right? And like we're so quick to like judge ourselves, be angry, be mean, not give ourselves like any room. But other people, we'd be like, oh, it's fine. Yeah, that happens, whatever. Like, it's crazy. It is.
Hmm.
That's a good one. I like that. My next one is, keep learning, especially from your mistakes and from your past, but also just in general, just keep learning. I think that's crucial to like I think being good involves growth, at least for me. That's what it involves. So I think, like learning is essential to that. You have to keep making changes and doing things better. You might get things wrong. As long as you don't repeat it, you're fine.
Mm. Yeah, that's a good one. Learning from your mistakes is huge because everybody makes them, and like that's what they're there for, really.
Yeah.
Like I was listening to some audiobooks over the past few days about like success or as we perceive it. But like I mean, they're basically like, really successful people expect to have problems, expect to make mistakes. But the thing is, they get a lesson from everyone and they try not to repeat them. And they also try and learn from other people's mistakes.
That's a good one too. Yeah, looking at other people where they fail and like that's where like books and stuff become so helpful because you can see where other people failed and not deal with
Yeah.
it.
You can be
Yeah,
like, ha ha, and
yeah,
then not repeat
sucker,
that.
not doing that.
Yeah. All right. So my last one for how to be good enough is accept yourself as you are now. Like this one, it seems ridiculous, but you're never going to be any different than you are right now. Right now, you're never going to be any different than you are right now. And so, like, we're just like, well, if I don't, I mean, it kind of relates to the first one with setting low standards, but also like realizing that right now, this is all that's ever going to be. You're only ever this moment. Past and the future don't
Mhm.
exist. This is it. So you might as well accept this and then start working towards what you want.
That is like the key to happiness, right? If you can accept yourself now, you're pretty much good because I think if anybody thinks about it for more than a second, they'll realize like they're hard on themselves, they don't feel good enough, they're thinking about either the past or they're thinking about the future and not measuring up to it rather than looking at right now and asking, am I good enough right now? Is this good enough? And I think that's a really good one because that's what screws us up so often is, not being in the moment or not treating ourselves as, how we are in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a good one. My last one is look outside yourself, like expand your perspective. And I meant like this in the sense of like look for like, we already mentioned, but like look for other people to like either model, like set for examples. That's always a good way to learn. Look at other people's mistakes and also just be empathetic. Look outside, think about other things, and start seeing kind of how you would treat other people. You talk about your friend and stuff, and kind of use that to help you treat yourself and be good enough.
Yeah, absolutely. Like get out of your own head once in a while. My goodness. I think a lot of this stuff, like these questions or these thoughts that we have, they're a lot of them are not very empowering thoughts. Like the thought, I'm not good enough or am I good enough? That's not something that you ask when you're in a good mood. But like
No.
when you're in a bad mood, it's like this is the most important question. Am I good enough? Am I ever going to make it in life? Am I ever going to be successful and happy? Am I going to spend my whole entire life alone? And blah 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 blah. And it's like all these things are completely not empowering, and they're only questions that you ever ask when you're feeling down. So if you can recognize that and then be like, hey, this is one of those questions that I ask when I'm feeling down, let me just let it go, and when I'm feeling good, I'll think about it again.
That is a good point, right? Because like they never come up when you feel good because it's not an issue. It's not a question. You
But it
know?
would be interesting to answer them, like if you
Yeah,
kept a list of like these unempowering questions that you have, and then when you start feeling good, go through them and answer them. I bet you could get a lot from that.
yeah, you probably could. Probably a lot of good answers too to go back to. Like, oh, remember when I said this about myself?
Yeah. Yeah, so there you have it in a nutshell, how to be good enough. And if you're not feeling good enough at the moment, just wait a little bit longer. So
Yeah,
that's all for today's episode. This is the Existential Stoic podcast. I'm Rain. Oh, wait, no. You can check us out on YouTube, also on all the podcasting services. I'm Randy. That's Danny. I'll see you later, Danny.
later, Randy.